Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, tmosso at the1916company.com for purchase and pricing details. Today we discuss a 2011 limited edition of 1,971 pieces. This is the Omega Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch Apollo 15 40th Anniversary Special Series. So, a dedication to the first moon mission to use the LRV, informally known as the Lunar Rover. More on that in a moment. It is a modern Speedmaster Professional, which means robust bracelet and solid end links. So in stainless steel, 42 millimeters in diameter, 14.5 millimeters thick, from lug tip to lug tip. If we're just talking about the case, 48.5 millimeters. If we include the solid end links, then it's a beefier 54.1 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, and again 20 millimeters the spacing between the lugs. On my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, it's a large watch. Now if this were on a strap, and you can absolutely buy it and put it on a strap, put the bracelet in the watch box and just wear it on a strap, it's suitable for a wrist of 14 centimeters circumference. On this solid end link bracelet, you need a bigger wrist. Mine is 16. I think the minimum based on this down the barrel shot is going to be 15 centimeters circumference. You can see in profile there is some cantilever to the bezel, so the tightest dress sleeves might get hung up on the side of this, but a jacket cuff should be fine. And if you wish to wear it over a spacesuit, Omega does sell the full Velcro adapter and attachment, so you can wear this thing over a spacesuit. That is available to civilians. Getting into space, that is more of a challenge. You'll need to pony up more than Omega money for that kind of ride. The bracelet, again, modern Moonwatch, which means we still have the integrating end link, but now everything is robust. All the links are solid, there's no rattle, and removable links are fixed in place using screws, so you can use your jeweler's screwdriver to size the bracelet. But there's also room for your strap tool, as there is a spring bar, and you can see there are two different mounting points inside the clasp, so you can change the anchoring point of the bracelet and fine-tune the fit on your wrist. The clasp is a lot like that on the Omega Seamaster Diver 300 meter, meaning thick gauge steel for the swing arm and the clasp body and twin trigger release. The difference being here we don't have the diving extension, but it has excellent tolerances. You can see the engravings are still very deep and pronounced, and it only opens when you press both triggers. Rolling back to the case now, lyre style lugs. They've been with us since the early 60s on Speedmasters and Seamasters. Basically it means we have an inward bevel, which is here satinated, and an outward bevel, which is polished. The bevel runs lengthwise, though it thins out at the mid-case, and we have longitudinal satin finish with polish on the underside of the bezel. And this is another feature of the Speedmaster Professional case, and it has been since the early 60s. That is the shear guard profile, as first seen on reference 10512, where you have a little bit of a shear guard for the crowns and the chronograph pushers. We've got a tachymeter scale. It's an aluminum insert. You use the chronograph. Let's say we see a race car starting a kilometer. It starts the kilometer. We start our tachymeter. Now this race car is moving very fast indeed, so when it finishes the kilometer and it passes the finish point of the kilometer, we stop the chrono, and you can see the car is moving just faster than 400 kilometers per hour. That's how that works. The crystal, it's Hesselite or thermoplastic, so you can see it has that little Omega logo at the center. That's how you know you're looking at an Omega factory crystal, but also that you're looking at Hesselite and not sapphire. Off axis, it creates a wonderfully warm distortion. But why the Hesselite? Well, sapphire is more scratch resistant, but it's also more shatter prone. And Omega, which still supplies this series of watches to NASA for spaceflight, Omega cannot have shattered sapphire floating around in zero gravity. Then it can get into instruments, it can get into eyes, you can actually breathe it in because it's floating in the spacecraft. So NASA specifies a more easily scratched, but almost impossible to shatter thermoplastic crystal. That's why the Hesselite is used. Now the dial is typical Speedmaster Professional with one wrinkle. We have the red, white, and blue colors of the Apollo 15 mission patch. So turning out the lights, start the chronograph, you can see that the watch is well loomed, including the chronograph seconds hand. and we have the distinctively dished sub-registers for running seconds, chronograph hours, and chronograph minutes with high contrast white on black hands. Now, on the reverse of the watch, this is a truly worthwhile solid caseback. In America, we have one heck of a car culture, and it was inevitable, perhaps, that when we went to the moon, we would eventually require cars on the moon, and so we did. We brought a lunar rover, the LRV, the Lunar Roving Vehicle, to the moon with Apollo 15, 16, and 17. So this caseback commemorates the first car on the moon, and it was an American car built by General Motors and Boeing with an impressive 57-mile range with moon gravity taken into account. It is, in its own way, an iconic design feature of the period. You see this and you immediately know that's the lunar rover. Some elements of the lunar landscape also featured, and you could see 40th anniversary, which corresponds to 2011. Plus, there is individual numbering on the reverse side. And of course, the first watch worn on the moon. Inside, caliber 1861, still based on the Lemania 1873 Abauche. That's very important to collectors. Water resistant in this case to 50 meters, though with a push-down crown. It's manual wind with a 48-hour power reserve, a 3 Hz beat rate, 18 joules, and a combination of a cam lateral clutch chrono, which is extremely shock resistant. And that is one of the reasons the lateral clutch continues to be used on these moon watches. Also, in the modern era, the difference between an Omega grade cam chronograph and a column wheel in terms of feel and sound, there is no difference. This is as sharp and crisp as a column wheel, and that is the industrial might of Lemania and Omega. So lots to love. Some people say moon watches are great, but everyone has one. Well, get one that's unique, limited, and colorful. And because the colors of the dial are red, white, and blue, this will actually work with a shocking number of national flags, not just the American one. Red, white, and blue is pretty universally appealing and often used for national colors. So reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase and pricing details of this manual wind wonder from 2011.